In a hidden world where legends breathe and myths awaken, a lone scientist finds himself face to face with creatures once thought impossible. Tonight, under a sky alive with shifting stars, a prophecy stirs, and one small drake holds the power to reshape the destiny of galaxies. But as enemies close in and secrets unravel, the line between science and legend blurs forever. If you are new to the channel, then please subscribe to the channel and like the video and tell us where are you watching from. Now, let's jump into the story. The firelight crackled in the distance, a soft voice echoing through the quiet night. It was not the kind of sound one expected to hear at the edge of a forgotten world. Yet it lingered, steady, like a whisper meant for only those willing to listen. The stars overhead burned brighter than any sky Dr. Oren Kalin had ever studied. Oren was not a hero. He was a scientist, more at home with samples and data than with sudden adventure. But tonight, he found himself in a transport pod, trembling through unstable space. He had been summoned to coordinates that were locked behind a clearance level no one in his position should ever possess. 1 in thousands of chances existed that the pod would scramble his molecules. He hated wormhole travel, yet here he was, holding his breath as the system slowed. A mechanical voice announced arrival. Sanctuary World Haven Prime. Local conditions safe for human tolerance. No scheduled return transport. Oren frowned. No return. That detail alone chilled him. His fund had been filled overnight by an anonymous benefactor who demanded his presence here. It felt less like invitation and more like entrapment. The pod doors opened. Outside stretched hills of green touched by twilight. The air carried the scent of sweet grass mixed with a sharp spice like cinnamon and charged lightning. Above him, constellations he did not recognize glimmered. No cities, no ships, no hum of galactic trade. Just silence, wild and whole. "Hello," Oren called out. His voice sounded smaller than he expected against the vast sky. "Anyone here to explain this situation?" A figure stepped from behind him. Commander Leora Dane, tall, composed, her uniform simple but marked with an insignia he had never seen before. A phoenix coiled with a star stitched across her sleeve. "Dr. Kalin," she said. Her voice was calm, precise, carrying the weight of duty. "Your clearance has been elevated for this visit. Welcome to Haven Prime." Oren blinked. Elevated? By who? I'm not even senior faculty at my institute. I'm just a xenobiologist with too many accidents on my record. "You will have your answers," she replied, "but not from me. Follow. Someone waits for you." They walked together into the wilderness. The path was lit by fungi glowing in soft hues of blue and green. The air buzzed with sounds that first seemed like insects, but as they walked, Oren noticed patterns in the rhythm. Too precise, too regular. "That is not natural, is it?" he asked. Leora gave him a brief glance. "You are observant. Keep walking." The forest opened into a clearing where firelight danced at the center. There sat an elder, robes drawn close, eyes reflecting both age and power. His name was Sage Talaran. Beside him gathered creatures unlike any in Oren's textbooks. 5 small beings perched near the fire, their scales catching the flames with shimmering color. Their wings delicate, their eyes alert with unusual intelli. They looked like creatures of old Earth myth, small dragons, but alive. One yawned, showing teeth that gleamed sharp as crystal. Oren stopped breathing for a moment. This is not possible. These things cannot exist. They are fairy tales. The elder looked up. You are welcome, Dr. Kalen. Sit. The prophecy does not wait for doubters. Orin lowered himself onto a wooden stool. His hands trembled as one of the creatures padded closer. Its scales glowed faintly, as if containing energy waiting to burst. It sniffed his hand before resting against him with surprising warmth. Sage Talaran smiled. Curious, is she not? Her name is Sarah. She likes meeting new minds. Orin's mind raced. Evolutionary branches, adaptations, countless theories collided in his thoughts. He had studied alien life for years, but nothing came close to this. How long have they been here? Why has no one been informed? Orin asked. Commander Leora answered this time. You know the history of the Iridian Leviathans. Discovered, exploited, and extinct within 3 years because their bodies amplified psychic fields. The galaxy is not gentle. Some things must be hidden. The elder's voice softened. These are astral drakes, the last of their kind. Once their ancestors flew between stars, breathing solar winds, guiding travelers along paths unseen. They are not myths, they are memory. The fire popped. The drakes shifted closer together, their eyes catching the flames. One, smaller than the rest, bore a spiral mark on its forehead. The elder's hand brushed its back. This one is Solon, Talaran said. Tonight is special. The heavens align for the first time in generations, and prophecy says that one drake will awaken and reshape the stars themselves. Orin shook his head. Reshape the stars. Surely that is metaphor. The elder's eyes glinted. Perhaps, perhaps not. The universe does not always fit inside human words. A sudden stillness fell across the clearing. Orin felt the weight of something vast, unseen yet present. This was no simple research trip. This was the beginning of something larger, something that stretched beyond science. And as the drakes gathered close to the elder, the fire reflected in their eyes like sparks of galaxies. Dr. Orin Kalen realized his life had changed the moment he stepped off that transport pod. This was no accident. He was not here by chance. He had been chosen. The firelight cast long shadows as Dr. Orin Kalen sat across from Sage Talaran. The astral drakes moved around the circle, their delicate wings catching sparks of orange and blue. Every detail of this night pressed against Orin's scientific mind, yet no equation or data model could explain what he was seeing. Sage Talaran's voice carried the rhythm of ancient memory. Long before humans reached the stars, these beings guided countless civilizations. They were guardians of safe passage. They saw hidden paths that no machine could chart. Once, they flew between worlds as easily as birds cross a sky. Then the galaxy turned greedy. Hunters sought their power. Wars burned. Their kind was almost lost. Orin leaned closer, his eyes fixed on the creatures. You call them astral drakes. They should not exist. Yet they breathe. They respond. They are real. Commander Leora Dane stood nearby, her hand resting near the weapon at her side. Her gaze never softened. Real enough that others want them. Dangerous enough that they must be hidden. You are here because the Elder believes you can see what others cannot. Not just as a scientist, but as someone willing to imagine. One drake stepped forward. Its scales gleamed with shifting colors. Green melting into blue. Blue turning to silver. The blade glowed faintly in the firelight. Sage Talaran's hand moved gently to rest on its back. This is Solon, the elder said. He is the marked one. The prophecy speaks of him. When the constellation known as the Emergence aligns, a single drake will awaken. The energy of the stars will flow through him, and he will reshape the connections of the heavens. Orin frowned. Reshape the heavens? What does that mean? No creature can move stars. Talarin's eyes reflected the flames. Not move. Reveal. The stars are not simply scattered lights. They are threads, lines waiting to be seen. Long ago, these creatures revealed those threads and guided travelers along them. What you call wormholes are but fragments of a greater web. Solon carries that gift. The night deepened. Orin listened, his heart torn between skepticism and awe. His warmth pulsed under his skin, steady like a heartbeat. How is it possible no one has spoken of this? Orin asked. Commander Leora's voice was firm. Because the galaxy consumes what it does not understand. Corporations would cage them. Governments would weaponize them. The Dominion ascendancy has already searched for decades. If they succeed, every world will kneel under their control. The Drakes must remain safe until the time of prophecy. A sudden crack echoed in the distance. The sound was sharp, unnatural against the quiet night. Leora's eyes narrowed. They are closer than we thought. Sage Talarin's expression grew grave. So the prophecy quickens. The alignment begins tonight, yet already the Dominion hunts. They will not stop until they claim the Drakes. Orin's chest tightened. Claim them. You mean capture, experiment, turn them into tools. Talarin nodded slowly. Exactly. That is why you are here, not just to study, but to choose. Knowledge without courage serves no purpose. Before Orin could reply, the Drakes shifted uneasily. Their wings trembled, their heads turned toward the forest beyond the clearing. Then came the distant thrum of engines descending through the night air. Commander Leora drew her weapon. Drop pods, 2 at least. They have found the perimeter. The elder rose with surprising speed. We must move. The sanctuary caves lie ahead. Only there can the alignment unfold safely. The fire was kicked apart, sparks scattering across the ground. Orin gathered his pack, his pulse racing. He had never faced real danger, only laboratory accidents and academic disputes. Yet here, on this hidden world, life and destiny now demanded something more of him. They moved quickly through the glowing forest. Fungi lit their path with eerie light, guiding each step deeper into the hills. The sounds of the night grew sharper, more hurried, as if the forest itself knew what approached. Halfway through the trail, chaos struck. In the scramble to move quickly, Solon darted off, slipping between the glowing roots. Orin caught only a glimpse of the spiral mark vanishing into the shadows. Solon, he whispered, panic rising. Sage Talarin stopped, his voice heavy with urgency. He is the one. The prophecy rests on him. Without Solon, the alignment cannot be fulfilled. Commander Leora scanned the darkness. We cannot wait. If the Dominion captures him, the galaxy will burn. Someone must go after him. Orin's throat tightened. He had never chased danger. Yet the thought of Solon, small and vulnerable, lost in a forest hunted by soldiers, filled him with a surge of resolve. I will find him, Orin said, his own voice surprising him. You take the others to safety. I will bring Solon back. Talarin's hand gripped his shoulder. Do not underestimate the peril. Solon is not only precious, he is destiny. Orin nodded, though fear churned inside him. Which way? Follow the trail of red fungi, Talarin said, and remember, the Dominion does not take prisoners. Orin swallowed hard. Then he ran into the dark. The forest closed around him, shadows bending with the faint light of glowing fungi. Every step echoed with risk. Every breath carried the weight of prophecy. Somewhere ahead, Solon waited, his small form carrying the power to change the stars. Orin's pulse pounded in his ears. He was no soldier, no guardian, just a scientist with ink-stained fingers and restless curiosity. Yet tonight, the galaxy had chosen him for more. The prophecy was no longer distant legend. It lived now in the beating heart of a small astral drake, and in the choices of a man who never expected to matter beyond his research. Orin pressed on. Behind him, engines roared as soldiers descended. Ahead, destiny waited in the glow of red fungi and the promise of starlight. The cavern opened before Dr. Orin Kalin, like the inside of a vast cathedral, carved by time and starlight. Bioluminescent fungi painted the walls in pale blue and silver, and strange markings stretched across the stone floor, glowing faintly as if waiting for a signal. Sage Taloran guided the group to the circular platform at the heart of the chamber, his movements steady despite the urgency. Orin carried Solon in his arms, the small astral drake trembling with exhaustion, yet still alive with inner light. Commander Leora Dane scanned the dark tunnel behind them, her weapon raised and ready. The echoes of pursuit grew louder, heavy boots striking stone, the sound of enemies closing in. Place him at the center, Taloran instructed. The alignment is near. Only here can the prophecy begin. Orin hesitated, but the elder's calm strength pushed him forward. He set Solon gently onto the stone platform. As soon as the young drake's claws touched the surface, the carved runes blazed to life. Lines of light spread outward, linking symbols into a living pattern. The air itself seemed to vibrate with unseen power. "What is happening?" Orin whispered. Taloran's voice carried both awe and gravity. "The awakening. The stars answer through him. This is what has been foretold." Before Orin could respond, the cavern shook with a violent blast. Rocks rained from the ceiling as the eastern wall burst open. Soldiers in black exo-armor stormed in, their weapons glowing with charged energy. At their lead stood a tall figure with a gleaming mask and crimson insignia. His voice was filtered, sharp, and commanding. "I am Admiral Corvin Drall of the Dominion Ascendancy. By authority of the Dominion Council, the creatures are seized for military service. Stand down or be eliminated." Leora fired first, blue energy bolts streaking across the cavern. Soldiers returned fire instantly, and the sanctuary filled with light and thunder. Drakes hissed, wings spreading wide. Orin ducked behind a stone column, his heart pounding as battle erupted around him. Solon stood at the center of the platform, his spiral mark glowing brighter than before. The other young drakes formed a circle around him, their scales shimmering as though drawing strength from the runes. The light pulsed in rhythm with Solon's small frame, building higher with each breath. "We cannot let them take him." Leora shouted over the noise, cutting down one soldier who tried to rush the platform. "Hold the line." Taloran stepped forward, raising his hands. He spoke words in an ancient tongue, and the air rippled with force. Soldiers staggered as invisible waves pressed against them, but more poured into the chamber. Orin's gaze returned to Solon. The young drake trembled, but the glow from his body grew unbearable to watch. With a cry that rang like the clash of crystal, Solon began to change. His wings spread wider, stretching longer than his small body should allow. His scales shifted from soft green blue to deep cosmic black, scattered with points of light. His body grew, doubling, then tripling in size, until he hovered above the platform, wings like sheets of living galaxies. The cavern shook with the sound of his voice, not a roar, but a resonance that hummed through the bones of everyone present. The runes beneath him flared, forming a radiant circle that lifted him higher into the air. Orin's breath caught. He is not just awakening. He is reshaping reality itself. Lines of starlight extended from the platform into the cavern ceiling, which shimmered and dissolved into a vision of the night sky. Constellations shifted. Stars bent and reconnected, revealing hidden pathways linking across the heavens. "Look," Orin said, awe breaking through his fear. "They do not move, stars. They reveal the threads between them. This is the lost web of travel, the true map of the cosmos." Admiral Drawl raised a strange weapon, one designed with cruel precision. "Deploy the suppression net. The asset must be contained." Glowing nets shot toward Solon, spreading wide. Orin acted without thought. He ran to the platform, standing beneath the young drake's vast form. The net struck him first, energy searing his skin. Pain exploded across his body, but through it came something else, a connection. He felt Solon's mind within his own, vast and ancient, filled with images of star systems and forgotten journeys. The bond between them pulsed stronger, fueled by both science and destiny. Solon responded. The net burned away in a surge of light. The energy rebounded toward the soldiers, throwing them backward. Weapons clattered to the stone floor, useless in the face of the awakened Drake. Commander Leora dragged herself to Orin's side, blood on her uniform. Her voice was strained but steady. "He is the one. The prophecy is alive. Protect him at all costs." Soldiers regrouped, but the sanctuary itself seemed to resist them now. Glowing patterns rose from the runes, forming walls of light. The other drakes lifted into the air, smaller but fierce, their breath scattering bursts of fire-like plasma against the attackers. Solon's eyes blazed, galaxies swirling within them. He opened his wings wide and released a harmonic chord that silenced the chamber. Stars above pulsed in response, rearranging themselves into new constellations. The enemies froze, weapons useless as the fabric of space itself bent. The prophecy is fulfilled. The guardians rise again. The stars are no longer theirs to control. Orin stood on shaking legs, staring up at Solon. He had arrived here a man of logic and research. Now he stood as part of a bond that reached beyond science, beyond imagination. The awakening had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. The cavern walls pulsed with light as Solon hovered above the ancient platform. His vast wings spread wide, galaxies glittering across their surface. The other astral drakes circled him, smaller yet burning with their own radiance. The soldiers of the Dominion faltered, unable to fight against forces that bent the laws of the universe itself. Dr. Orin Kalin stood below, the bond between him and Solon alive like a current of fire and starlight. The scientist who once doubted legends now felt the truth pressing through his veins. These creatures were not myths, they were guardians, and tonight their return would mark the beginning of a new age. Commander Leora Dane, injured but unbroken, leaned against a broken stone column. Her weapon smoked from the last of its charges, yet her gaze never left the spectacle unfolding above. She whispered with conviction, "The prophecy lives. The covenant is real." Sage Talaran raised his staff, his old voice carrying through the chaos. "Look to the heavens. The alignment has come. What was hidden is revealed again." With those words, the cavern ceiling dissolved into pure transparency. Beyond, the night sky burned brighter than ever. Stars bent and shifted, their positions changing with each resonant call from Solon. What once were scattered lights became pathways, rivers of glowing threads stretching across the void. Orin felt the bond deepen. Visions struck his mind with clarity. He saw civilizations long forgotten, Guided by drakes through the web of stars, he saw peace forged across distances once thought impossible. And he saw the danger too, the Dominion's hunger to twist this gift into conquest. Admiral Corvin Drow staggered to his feet, his mask cracked, his voice fierce and desperate. "You cannot keep them from us. With their power, we control every star route. The galaxy will kneel." Before he could fire another weapon, Solin's eyes locked onto him. The surge of harmonic light rolled from the drake's wings, sweeping through the chamber. Soldiers fell to their knees, weapons dropping as the sheer force of the resonance stole their will to fight. Drow was hurled against the wall, his ambitions silenced by the very power he sought to control. Silence followed, heavy and sacred. Only the sound of Solin's wings filled the chamber. The young drake lowered his massive head toward Orin, pressing his glowing snout against the human's chest. The bond burned brighter, sealing a connection older than empires. Talarin stepped forward, his face lined with wonder. "For generations we waited. Now it is done. The Guardian has chosen his guide." Orin could hardly speak, but words came in a hushed tone. "I am no hero. I'm only a scientist." "Exactly," the elder replied. "The galaxy does not need conquerors. It needs seekers, those who search for truth, not power." The runes at the platform's edge flared once more, and the chamber itself began to rise. Stone dissolved into light as they were lifted through a column of brilliance into the open night. The sanctuary was no longer bound to earth and soil. It ascended into the web of stars. The journey brought them to a place beyond normal space. Massive ribbons of light stretched between countless stars, and at the nexus of these glowing threads floated colossal figures. 3 elder astral arbiters, dragons whose scales contained whole galaxies, hovered in solemn majesty. And Orin, Leora, and Talarin stood on a platform of shimmering crystal, the younger drake circling them protectively. Solin remained at the center, his spiral mark blazing. A voice filled their minds, deep and eternal. "The awakening is complete. The covenant of light is reborn." Leora stepped forward. "The Dominion knows. They will come again. How do we protect this secret?" The Arbiter's reply was calm yet powerful. "The paths to your world will be hidden. Those not chosen will not find them. But the covenant must not be secrecy alone. It must be shared in wisdom, not fear." Orin raised his voice, steady despite his awe. "If the drakes once guided civilizations, then they can again. But not as weapons, as bridges, as keepers of balance." The arbiters regarded him with ancient eyes. "The bond between human and drake has returned. Such a bond has not existed for 7,000 years. It is the sign of renewal." Solin lowered himself beside Orin, his eyes filled with galaxies and memory. Together they looked toward the endless expanse of stars. Talarin bowed deeply. "My duty is done. I return to the soil of my world. But you, scientist, and you, guardian, must carry the covenant forward." The arbiters extended their wings. Light spread across the cosmic web, connecting distant galaxies with radiant threads. "Remember," their voice echoed, "to shape the stars is not to rule them, but to guide others to their own light." The platform dissolved into pure starlight. In an instant, they descended back into known space, carried by Solin and the younger drakes. Earth glimmered below, unaware of the covenant reborn above its skies. Orin held to the drake's neck, his heart steady for the first time in years. He had spent his life searching for answers in microscopes and theories. Now he carried the bond of creation itself. He was no longer only a scientist. He was a guide beside a guardian of stars. As Solon soared, ribbons of light bloomed across the night, weaving new paths between distant worlds. The covenant of light had begun again, not in secrecy or domination, but in connection and trust. And for the first time, Oren Kalin believed not just in science, but in destiny.